Have you ever considered adding the countryside to your trip to Japan? Maybe seeing the less touristy spots? Let me tell you about a small town in northern Japan, Tsuruoka. Actually, Tsuruoka is quite a large town. Matter of fact, it is the largest city in Tohoku, the northeast region of Japan. But that's only when talking about land size. When looking at the population, we're not quite there. Its already small population is declining pretty fast. The 2020 census reports a population of slightly over 125,000 people, 8.3% less than in 2010, and the lowest it has been since the 1920s, when it officially became a city. To put it in context for our Montrealers, Tsuruoka is a city that is more than 4 times the size of the island of Montreal, with 10,000 less people than Annecy-Cartierville. That gives us a density of 96 people per square kilometers. That's 134 times less dense than the Plateau Montréal, or about the same density as the plateau if you don't count the French people. The demography does help give it a quaint, calm feel, but so does the location. The city is nestled in the west coast, with the beautiful Sea of Japan giving us some amazing beaches. In the north, the east, and the south, Tsuruoka is surrounded by mountains. This creates a little valley, shared by Tsuruoka and a few neighboring cities. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, those mountains make it a pain in the ass to travel out of the region. Driving on the mountain roads can be a hassle. The famous Japanese Shinkansen snub us, and the closest airport only goes to Tokyo. But in exchange, those mountains make for some fantastic hikes. They offer us absolutely breathtaking views, especially when the peaks get snowy. Even those somewhat annoying drives through the mountain roads can become an activity in themselves when you take the time to take in the scenery. I myself am quite a fan of driving there just to find a rest stop and enjoy some tea while taking in the fall foliage. And the low population density equals fewer and lower buildings. There's no skyscrapers, so you can really enjoy the view from pretty much any slightly open space. By that I mean the grocery store, the convenience store, or even your workplace. As I mentioned previously, Tsuruoka officially became a city in 1924, which made it the 100th official city in Japan. But it used to be a capital of the Shonai area way before that. And the castle that used to stand here for like 600 to 700 years maybe, actually got demolished in the late 19th century. If you come to visit Japan, you might notice that this is a way too common story. A lot of castles didn't really stand the test of time or this change in powers. But Tsuruoka doesn't let you out, hang you out to dry. Where the castle once stood, amongst the ruins and the moat, you can still observe a beautiful park, and apparently when summer or spring gets here, it is one of the best spots to watch sakura falls in all of Japan. I couldn't tell you if these are the sakura trees because I am not enough of a nerd to know what trees look like, especially not when they're in the nude, but I guess those are them. Although the open-air mall and the main roads might remind you that this is technically a city, you can never really forget that you're in the Japanese countryside. You'll always have a mountain in your field of vision. You'll cross the bridges that run through the city like stitches holding it together. You'll pass by rice field to get to another neighborhood. And the town is always either calm or celebrating something. It's a small city, in a country one of the most homogeneous population in the world. So it would be very reasonable to assume that they might not take kindly to foreigners. Well, for now my experience with the local has been incredible. They are kind, curious, funny. They are eager to connect with people who can share a different perspective, and they make sure you're well fed by giving you 400 persimmons a day during the first 2 weeks of November. If you ever wish you could hop in a scene from Totoro, while still enjoying the benefits of living in a city, that's what Tsuruoka usually feels like. But living in a Ghibli movie has its downsides. You'll notice that those movies are not packed with young adults living their lives. That's because places like Tsuruoka are mainly inhabited by kids, adults looking to settle down, and elderly people. There's still some young adults around, but most of them leave for bigger cities when they finish high school, as the only undergrad school around is an agricultural one. It can sometimes feel like the town has been frozen in time, stuck in the days where young people used to live here. Those people have now grown older, with the town trailing behind. This is the case for a lot of towns across Japan, and even if I don't think it's inherently good or bad, I think it's a shame that people who come to visit Japan stick to the big cities and the tourist attractions, and miss out on these places that are full of culture for us to experience, and wonderful people for us to meet. I recently watched an old video from a YouTuber who brought up how underrated the northeast region of Japan, Tohoku, is. Despite being the third biggest region, Tohoku receives the third least amount of tourists. To be fair, I haven't visited much of it myself, but I plan on exploring it as much as I can. So if you stick around, hopefully you might find yourself adding an extra stop on that Japan trip that you've been planning forever.